What if the greatest scientific minds in history were guided by a secret brotherhood, a society so elusive their very existence is still debated, yet their influence may have shaped the birth of modern science? Isaac Newton, Francis Bacon, were they simply geniuses ahead of their time, or chosen initiates in a hidden order working behind the scenes? Today, we unveil a forgotten chapter of history where mysticism meets mathematics and alchemy becomes astronomy. So before we unlock the secrets of the Rosicrucians and their invisible hand in the scientific revolution, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment letting us know which secret society you want us to uncover next. Let's pull back the curtain together. Europe, early 17th century, a continent ablaze with conflict, suspicion, and silence. The iron grip of the church still holds sway over the minds of millions, even as the first sparks of rebellion flicker in hidden chambers and ink-stained manuscripts. It is an age where to question divine order is heresy, and to seek knowledge outside scripture, a death sentence. But beneath the surface, something stirs. Whispers pass from hand to hand, pamphlets, unsigned and cryptic, promising truths too dangerous to say aloud. They speak of healing all diseases, of understanding the laws of nature, of transforming society through secret wisdom. And above all, they speak of a brotherhood, ancient, invisible, and everywhere, the Rosicrucians. They claim no temple, no throne, no leader, and yet their name begins to echo in the minds of Europe's brightest thinkers. RC, the mysterious initials, appear like a ghost signature beneath dense philosophical texts. Their emblem, a rose blooming on a cross, emerges in obscure woodcuts and etched medallions. No one has seen a Rosicrucian, yet their influence seems undeniable. The year is 1614. In the German city of Kassel, a manifesto is printed, Fama Fraternitatis. It reads like prophecy wrapped in allegory. It tells the story of Christian Rosenkreuz, a monk who traveled to the east and returned with knowledge beyond comprehension. Knowledge he sealed away in a hidden tomb for future generations. But this is not just a story, it's a call to awaken. Kings scoff, theologians denounce, but philosophers, they read between the lines. This isn't blasphemy. It's a new language of the divine, one where reason replaces dogma, and the secrets of the stars are no longer the domain of angels alone. Some say the Rosicrucian manifestos are a hoax, a prank by disillusioned scholars. Others believe they are messages encrypted with purpose, intended only for those who can truly see. Either way, they ignite something dangerous, curiosity. And in an age ruled by fear, curiosity is revolutionary. Could these invisible sages be the real architects of a new world, where science and spirit are no longer enemies, but allies? By the time the Fama Fraternitatis reached the hands of European thinkers, it had already lit a spark that would be impossible to extinguish. But the flame burned hotter with the arrival of its twin, the Confessio Fraternitatis. Published in 1615, this second manifesto was bolder, more direct, an invitation and a challenge. It proclaimed a universal and general reformation of the whole wide world, not through fire and blood, but through knowledge, harmony, and enlightenment. It denounced the corruption of the clergy and called for a new alliance between science, philosophy, and the divine. It demanded transformation, not obedience. And yet, no names, no addresses, no signatures, just the emblem of a mysterious brotherhood that claimed to exist everywhere and nowhere. The public reaction was a paradox. Some were outraged, labeling it heresy. Others dismissed it as a clever literary trick. But among a select group of scholars, alchemists and philosophers, a different question began to take root. What if it's real? What if somewhere, perhaps in Paris or London or Prague, a circle of enlightened minds was quietly shaping the course of human understanding? In the coffee houses and secret societies of Europe, rumors swirled. The Rosicrucians had agents in every royal court. Their symbols appeared carved into cathedrals and woven into the architecture of libraries. Some even claimed the Rosicrucians were guardians of lost knowledge from ancient Egypt or Atlantis. But for the thinkers who mattered, those who would become the architects of the scientific revolution, the manifestos weren't just mysticism. They were a manifesto for the soul of the future. The texts spoke in riddles, yes, but beneath the allegories lay blueprints, hints of empiricism, calls to observation, and a rejection of blind dogma. They weren't anti-Christian. They were beyond it. They proposed a world where science and spirituality were not enemies, but twin branches of the same tree. And that idea was dangerous. What if the Rosicrucian documents were more than just words? What if they were a test, a filter to find those brave enough and brilliant enough to shape a new world? Among those who accepted the call was a man whose vision would redefine knowledge itself, Francis Bacon. But was he merely inspired by the Rosicrucians, or was he one of them? He was not cloaked in robes. He wore no amulet, held no wand, and never confessed allegiance to any secret brotherhood. But Francis Bacon, lawyer, philosopher, visionary, spoke with the authority of someone who had glimpsed a future no one else dared imagine. To his peers, he was a man of science before science had a name. To the Rosicrucians, if they truly existed as more than myth, he may have been something more, a prophet in plain sight. Bacon believed that knowledge should not be inherited like wealth or accepted like scripture. It must be earned, tested, proven, broken, and rebuilt. He rejected the blind reverence for Aristotle that dominated European universities. Instead, he proposed a method rooted in observation and experience. The scientific method, as it would one day be called, was born in the mind of a man centuries ahead of his time. But where did this vision come from? In 1626, Bacon published The New Atlantis, a fictional account of a utopian island ruled not by kings or priests, but by scientists and sages. The island's central institution, Salomon's House, was dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge for the betterment of humanity. The description is eerily similar to the goals described in the Rosicrucian manifestos, a society cloaked in secrecy, focused on healing, harmony, and hidden wisdom, a place where science and spirituality walked hand in hand. Coincidence? Many believe Bacon was not only inspired by the Rosicrucians, but was himself one of their hidden architects. His writings are laced with veiled references, symbols, and philosophical codes. Some of his admirers would later claim he even used cryptography to hide Rosicrucian principles within his essays, lessons only visible to those with the right lens. And yet, he never admitted it, never wore their emblem, never spoke their name. Perhaps he didn't need to. For Bacon, the true alchemy wasn't turning lead into gold, it was transforming ignorance into understanding. He sought not to dominate nature, but to decode it. He believed that hidden within the fabric of reality were patterns, principles, and truths, waiting to be revealed by those brave enough to seek them. Like the Rosicrucians, Bacon saw knowledge as sacred. And like them, he knew that true revolution doesn't begin with fire, it begins in the mind. And in the shadows of his influence, another figure would rise, a man who would uncover the mechanics of the universe while obsessing over biblical prophecy and ancient symbols. A man of paradox, Isaac Newton. He is remembered as the father of modern physics, the man who defined gravity, motion, and light with mathematical precision. But behind the cold logic of formulas and the authority of Principia Mathematica, there was another Isaac Newton, one that history often tries to forget, a mystic, a seeker, a man obsessed with prophecy, alchemy, and the divine architecture of the cosmos. In the solitude of his study, Newton wasn't only calculating the laws of planetary motion, he was decoding sacred texts, scribbling occult symbols in the margins of his notebooks, and conducting experiments to find the philosopher's stone. More than a third of his writings were dedicated not to science, but to the occult. He believed that the universe was written in a divine language and that mathematics was merely one of its dialects. The rest, hidden in ancient scriptures, temple dimensions, and esoteric codes waiting to be unlocked. Was this madness or initiation? Among scholars of secret societies, there is a lingering question. Was Newton merely eccentric, or was he walking a hidden path, one laid out by the Rosicrucians? There is no direct evidence that Newton was a member of the order, no signed declaration, no Rosicrucian seal. But his private correspondence tells another story. Letters exchanged with known alchemists, obsession with Hermetic philosophy, his reverence for knowledge as a spiritual pursuit, all aligned perfectly with Rosicrucian ideals. And then there is the silence. Despite being president of the Royal Society, Newton kept his theological and mystical work hidden from the public. Was it fear of ridicule or allegiance to a code of secrecy? Even his celebrated discoveries were framed in the language of mystery. He believed gravity was not just a physical force, but possibly an expression of divine will. He studied the Book of Revelation as meticulously as he studied the motion of the stars, convinced that a cosmic order connected all things, spiritual and material. To Newton, science was not a rebellion against God. It was communion. Like Bacon before him, Newton saw no contradiction between reason and revelation. And like the Rosicrucians, he believed that the secrets of the universe were not granted freely. They had to be earned through discipline, purity, and inner transformation. In the shadows of Newton's genius, the fingerprints of an invisible brotherhood remain. Whether he was a formal initiate or merely aligned with their truth, the conclusion is the same. He didn't just uncover the laws of nature. He followed a map drawn by mystics. And as the Enlightenment dawned, the world would soon witness what happened when that hidden map was passed from hand to hand, across continents. By the late 17th century, the world was changing faster than the old powers could control. Telescopes pierced the heavens, microscopes unveiled invisible worlds, ancient doctrines crumbled beneath the pressure of observation, logic, and experiment. But in the background, beneath the noise of revolutions and renaissance, whispers of a deeper movement remained. Not all revolutions take place in public squares. Some unfold in candlelit rooms, behind locked doors, among minds united by something more powerful than politics: vision. Across Europe, a quiet network of thinkers, healers, and philosophers emerged, some of them known, most of them forgotten. From the salons of Paris to the libraries of Leiden, from the backrooms of London to the secret circles of Prague, ideas flowed like underground rivers, feeding the roots of a new world. This wasn't coincidence. This was orchestration. To those who paid attention, there were signs, Rosicrucian symbols carved into the facades of scientific academies, references to invisible colleges in letters exchanged by Enlightenment figures. The sudden appearance of societies, Masonic, Hermetic, philosophical, that preached unity between science, morality, and metaphysics. It was as if the ideals of the Rosicrucians had spread like a virus, one carried not by blood, but by ideas. Many believe these societies were extensions or evolutions of the original Rosicrucian Brotherhood. They didn't seek control through power, but through influence. By planting seeds of curiosity and nurturing independent thought, they built a framework that would outlast kings and empires. Even institutions we now consider secular, like the Royal Society of London, were founded by men with mystical leanings, alchemical interests, and deep reverence for hidden knowledge. What if the scientific revolution wasn't an accident, but a carefully guided transformation? What if the Rosicrucians were not the creators of modern science, but its midwives, guiding, guarding, and occasionally provoking humanity toward awakening, not through domination, but by inspiring those who could hear the call? a conspiracy, not of control, but of illumination. And yet, as with all secret fires, there was always the danger of it being extinguished. The forces of dogma, greed, and war never disappeared. They simply adapted. The invisible war between ignorance and enlightenment continued. But so did the influence of the Brotherhood. And even as the centuries passed, their legacy did not vanish. It evolved, because the true mark of their success was not their survival, but that their ideas had become the very foundations of modern thought. Centuries have passed since the first Rosicrucian manifestos whispered through the alleyways of Europe. The world they once dreamed of, a society built upon knowledge, harmony, and hidden truths, has in many ways come to pass. But few know their names. Their emblems have faded from the pages of public history, lost in the noise of wars, revolutions, and industrial empires. And yet, their fingerprints remain in the structure of modern science, in the spirit of inquiry that challenges orthodoxy, in the belief that reason and spirituality need not be enemies. Today, we celebrate the legacies of Newton and Bacon, of Kepler and Descartes, as titans of knowledge. But behind their genius stood a hidden current, one that flowed from esoteric traditions, from sacred geometry, from ancient wisdom passed in silence. A current that may have been channeled, shaped, even stirred by the Rosicrucians. Their vision was never meant for the masses. It was meant for the seekers, those with eyes to see beyond appearances, with minds sharp enough to question, and hearts brave enough to imagine a world lit not by superstition or conquest, but by truth. And the greatest trick the Rosicrucians may have ever pulled, they didn't just influence history, they became invisible within it. You can find echoes of their presence in the architecture of old libraries, in the symbols carved into university crests, and even in the secret rituals of societies that still gather under the banner of enlightenment. And for those who dare to look deeper, who follow the thread woven between science and mysticism, a realization slowly emerges. Perhaps the Rosicrucians were never just a brotherhood. Perhaps they were a mirror, reflecting what humanity could become when it dared to search for meaning beyond dogma. Their tombs remain unopened, their names unspoken, but their dream is very much alive. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video and you're passionate about this kind of content, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the upcoming videos and discover more fascinating stories. See you in the next video.